Hey, this is Scott at Fire Breathing Christian, and as many of you have no doubt heard and noticed and laughed and or cried about, Hillary Clinton is back. And what has the reaction been from the left here as we are in the closing weeks of the midterm elections? Well, I think it all is summed up fairly well by this article at the Daily Beast, with the title of the article being, "Dear God, Hillary Clinton, please just go." Yeah, the Crypt Keeper's return is not going over well with the NPC party. No one benefits from her latest venture back into the political scene. The article goes on. We're 3 weeks out from the 2018 midterm election, and Hillary Clinton is popping up again like a Halloween ghoul who keeps rising from the grave to terrorize the American public. Only this time accompanied by the increasingly Me Too-burdened Uber villain Bubba. And isn't this kind of stuff interesting to see? This perspective reflected in more and more leftist, NPC, SJW, cultural Marxist-driven media. Now they're all about talking about the Bubba problem. You know, Bill Clinton as a woman-hating, woman-abusing monster, and Hillary being the enabler of said woman abuse, and then in her own right, quite the woman hater. Now they talk about it. That's fun. You know, forever and ever and ever, it was all about MoveOn.org. Well, I guess they don't want to MoveOn.org anymore. Anyway, the article continues. The Clintons, it seems, can't seem to call it quits, even if it means leaving members of their own party cringing and many more voters ready to head desk themselves into a coma. Please do. Please feel free to head desk away, NPCs. This time, it's happening courtesy of a pay-through-the-nose-to-see-them rehab tour. Because if there's one thing America hasn't had enough of over recent decades, it's efforts by the Clintons to recast themselves as normal, likable people as they cash checks and play the victim. Two thoughts here. Cashing checks, giant checks. Millions and millions and millions of dollars. These people have been raping and pillaging, literally, their way to wealth for their entire career, collectively, and it's all about playing the victim. I mean, and this is where the NPC media and the social justice warrior mindset, cultural Marxism, identity politics, it's all about playing the victim. So don't go blaming them for that and setting yourself up as a victim now, mainstream media. Previous editions of this show have included Hillary's 2 Senate runs and 2 presidential runs, which, depending on one's perspective, were either an attempt to show independence from her husband or to be compensated for his myriad screw-ups. But despite the last run ending with a loss to Donald freaking Trump, comma, the most flawed candidate Republicans could conceivably have run in 2016, it appears that nothing will get Hillary out of our political debate once and for all. We'll be getting into the second part of that statement here in a second, but this part here, referring to Trump as the most flawed candidate Republicans could have conceivably run in 2016. This statement demonstrates that the author and the large number of NPCs that Liz Mayer represents are completely disconnected from reality and still have not absorbed the most basic fundamental lessons that were made very plain through the whole Trump experience in 2016. They're still clueless, still living in a fantasy land, a dream world. They don't know how reality works. But then again, this is the party that would have you believe that Bruce Jenner is a woman, so I guess that shouldn't be surprising. The article continues. Hillary remains caught up in the delusion that the only reason she lost in 2016 was because of Russian interference. Russian interference now being, and Russian bots and all that stuff, election interference online being the justification that the NPC party is using to try and crush the NPC meme, among other things. So yeah, that's a central part of their narrative, at least for the moment. She does not seem to have fully processed the fact that she lost the Electoral College, the only vote that counts. She touts the fact that she got nearly 3 million more votes than Trump, while conveniently leaving out that her tally of the vote still fell well below 50%. Both of the major party nominees in 2016 were so unlikable, flawed, and, let's be candid, unethical. Now, look, so now we're going to be candid for a moment to acknowledge Hillary's unethical nature now that that's all behind us. It's kind of like Bill. It's the same thing with Bill Clinton. Now they acknowledge the woman-hating, woman-abusing monster that he is now. But we all know that they would fail to acknowledge. They'd look the other way at any flaw if they think that overlooking evil will get them to power. We know they'll do that. They've done it before, and both Clintons demonstrate that. So it is interesting and ironic and a whole lot of fun, actually, to watch an article like this be written where all these layers are just waiting to be pulled back and explored, revealing the complete dysfunctional hypocrisy that's in that serves as a foundation fill-in for the people who write this stuff and still go on to support what they call a progressive agenda. Anyway, we'll continue with the article. Oh, and let's be honest, and let's be candid, unethical that lots of us just couldn't pull the lever for her even if we couldn't stand Trump. According to a study from American National Election Studies, the words most associated by voters with Hillary in 2016 were experienced liar, quote unquote. Yeah. And the Progressive Party put that family in power. The Progressive Party bent over backwards in any other way Bill would have wanted them to bend over in order to accommodate his ongoing reign of terror over women. That's what they're about. That's what cultural Marxism and identity politics does. That's the kind of evil it enables. Anything for power. Is it logical that she'd want to rehab her image given all this? Perhaps. Is it possible? No. No. And now, why is it only impossible now, though? Based all the things we know now that's making it impossible for the Clintons, for Hillary or Bill to be taken seriously, we've known these things for ages. But only now it's not possible from the perspective of the NPC writing this article. Do we need to watch her try? Definitely not. So an emphatic definitely not is the answer here, and that's the point of this article. That might be especially the case if you're a Democrat. Hillary's continual pursuit of limelight and headlines, I wish, ensures that the image of the Democratic Party remains an outdated, outmoded, and frankly despicable for far too many voters. Let me reread that sentence. I kind of mangled it. Hillary's continual pursuit of limelight and headlines ensures that the image of the Democratic Party remains an outdated, outmoded, and frankly despicable. Well, it's poorly written. Never mind. It's a typo there. This comes at a time when leading Democrats are attempting to focus voters' attention on the future, 2020 and beating Trump, and jostling for the role as the new party leader. But the Crypt Keeper is not going to have a new party leader emerge, at least not without putting up a fight. The article continues. It also undercuts Democrats' positioning as the only party that really cares about Me Too. Yeah, your position, understand, your party is the party of Bill Clinton and the Kennedys. We should throw them in here too. You guys hate women. You love to use women. You love to enable routinely, knowingly, woman-abusing monsters. That's what your party has been about for generations, I should say. All right. It also undercuts Democrats' positioning as the only party that really cares about Me Too and that will fight for survivors, a contrast Dems are only too keen to spotlight in the wake of Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation to the Supreme Court and ongoing allegations about President Trump's treatment of women. Anyway, we'll just continue. Only sheer partisan convenience could allow someone to insist that Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's testimony is credible while downplaying the numerous allegations of mistreatment and worse made by women against Bill Clinton. Yeah, that's true, but there's much, much more with Bill Clinton. I mean, Bill Clinton has had credible charges of rape anyway, we won't get into all that now, but we've known he's a beast. And Democrats, progressive women, females have go back and Google and read some of the articles that have been made in his defense after it was known what he did with Monica, after all the other reports of him being everything from a rapist to a habitual sexual assault machine. The things that so-called progressive women would say in defense of him, and to have them now wondering and mourning and trying to explain to us anything. I mean, the last people qualified to be taken seriously on these sorts of subjects are people who've been loyal to the Democrat Party over the last 30 years. For the Democrat Party, about the best that can come of this latest Clinton revival is that no matter how unpalatable any of its leading lights, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, Senator Kamala Harris, Kristen Gillibrand, Senator Cory Booker, or others, are individually, they'll look downright appealing the longer Hillary hangs around. And that's true by comparison, but ultimately they're not trying to become president of the Democrat Party. They're trying to become president of the United States. And so that only goes so far. But Hillary, doing so does not signal that the Democrat Party is actually living in the present and focused on beating Trump. Rather, it suggests the party wants to turn American politics into a new edition of Groundhog Day, only with no Bill Murray or actual groundhog. Isn't it time to let the Democrat Party move on from its Clintonite past and to give someone else a go? No, see, this is the beauty of this is, and I understand it's not beautiful to the author of the article or to the NPC whack jobs that comprise most of the Democrat Party base, but this is the culmination of your Clintonite past. This is part of what you get for that. You get credit. You get credit. You have a proper association now with so many characters from the not that distant past that you are rightly labeled as a band of stark raving lunatics who are mad for power to the point that you will enable any monster to do anything to any woman. Okay, so long as it serves your quest for power. So this article, it goes on, and well, we'll read a little more because it is fun and entertaining. But this idea to watch Democrats writing this stuff, you gotta laugh, you gotta kind of enjoy it, and it should give us a real sense of just how not only disconnected that they still are from reality and beyond denial. I just don't even think they're putting their feet down anywhere in the real world. I don't think they necessarily even see basic realities in order to deny them. Not that they won't deny them once they do see them, but I don't even think they're there yet based on this kind of stuff. But let's enjoy and continue here. One of the reasons Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been so refreshing, and she's a complete Marxist imbecile. Idiot quote machine, but she's refreshing. And one of the reasons she's been so refreshing isn't just because the more democratic, socialist-driven, modern Democratic Party, which is populated to a greater degree by younger voters, wants a younger, more progressive avatar to embrace. It's also because even Republicans are starting to get weary of bashing the Clintons now, though some of us will undertake it still as a public service. Clinton is like the target you've already shot dead. So many times the paper has gone to shreds. All right. Oh, yeah, the target you shot already. Yeah, all right, I got it there. There are a few more column inches to be written, but even Fox News personalities have begun to act a little bored when they dive into Hillary-focused narratives these days. And this is true. There's a fatigue factor for me, and I think pretty much everyone else. It's set in for a while now. But the worthwhile gem that has to be, we have to endure what it takes to find this gem and then really hold it up into the light and appreciate it, is that this Clinton thing is so much of the heart and soul of the modern Democrat Party. The modern Democrat Party has gotten where it is by openly, publicly, knowingly feeding women and children, of course, to beasts like the Clintons and Kennedys. That's how they got here. That's what they mean by progress. The ends justify the means. And if you happen to be a woman who's raped by a Clinton or any Democrat who they feel they need to win, you're done. You, the woman, you're going to be sacrificed, just like the children who are sacrificed to the abortion industry. It's just the ends justify the means. That's what these people call progress. And they're so warped, so disconnected from reality that they just don't know which way is up anymore. So the article continues. All of which suggests that for Republicans, too, it's time to move on to fresh fights with fresh adversaries. And I agree with that. We want the newest bad guy, not the evildoer from the biggest show in the freaking 90s. Maybe in 2020 it'll be Warren, Harris, Booker, or any of the other 20-some people that might potentially run for president on the Democratic side. I'm really pulling for Pocahontas. Definitely that would be beautiful. But it's a dead certainty that it isn't the lady we've seen inveighing against the right wing for stealing things she seems to think she or her husband are inherently entitled to for decades now. It's time for Hillary and Bill to get off the stage and quit seeking the public adoration they're clearly never going to get to the massive degree that they crave it. Again, some of this is written. It's pretty clumsy. I know I'm kind of mangling this in the reading, but sometimes the writing itself is just pretty bad. Be content, like so many other party elders who've turned out to be winners, in working behind the scenes to help to deliver wins for other, better, up-and-coming, appealing voices. The ones who have a long future, so that if they need for you to sacrifice a woman who's been abused or raped by them, at least it makes sense because they're young, But now, how many more miles does Hillary do Hillary and Bill have? I mean, not a lot of tread wear left on the old crypt keeper there. So, yeah. The article continues. Yes, others have stuck around past their primes. Mitt Romney, a candidate with a similar resume of high-profile presidential losses, is now running for Senate. But his circumstances are different. He was asked to run for the seat that he will soon occupy by its current occupant, and he's maintained strong ties to Utah. Even then, his continuing presence on the political stage irks a ton of Americans who wish he too would go away quietly. So Hillary, ditch the rehab tour. Dispense with TV appearances, recognize that whether it's lauded or not, you did make some kind of a difference. Yes, even Hillary did a couple of things right in her various terms in public office. I don't necessarily agree with that, and be content to leave it there. Zombie movies for Halloween are fun, but whether you're a Democrat or Republican or neither, there's only so much zombie politics you can take. That's what the Clintons essentially offer now. A brain-devouring, egocentric version of democratism lurching and festering onward, seemingly endlessly. Which, in my opinion, is why it's wonderful that she's still doing this, as eye-roll and shoulder shrug inspiring as it is to watch. I'm glad the Crypt Keeper is doing her thing. It's all she knows to do. And finally, her and her woman-hating, woman-abusing monster of a husband, they're finally helping the Democrat Party to get full credit for the horror show that they are. If you appreciated this video and you want to support what we're doing, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the little bell icon so that you can be notified every time we post a new video, which we're hoping to do regularly on a daily basis from here on out on this subject and related subjects. Thank you very much for your support. Without it, we can't continue to do this.